they're trying to starve you out.
Yes.
Okay, and one very obvious aspect of that was when Judge Linares first threw out those charges that not only affected your case but other cases. They appealed it and they lost.
Right.
Okay, and after you lose the appeal, you got a limited time to appeal that.
Right.
Okay. Tell us what happened there.
Well, they wait till the last day, and then they say they're going to appeal that, and they did, and they lost again. And
no, they waited till the last day and asked for an extension.
An extension, yes, exactly right. They asked for an extension.
Like 2 or 3 extensions they got.
Yeah, and you know the ironic thing is that the same premise that you can't charge a non-public official with a crime that's designated for public officials exists in the Travel Act. Because they have to use a New Jersey statute, and the New Jersey statute clearly says you have to be a public official.
Let's don't move on to the crime. Let's look at this tactic here of just delay the process as long as they can.
Yeah,
if they can keep this hanging over you for the next 10 years,
that's
what they'll do.
Yeah, that's exactly right. They'll think at some point in line I'll collapse. I'll be unable to sustain a defense, and that's their practice.
Okay, and that's
strategy. That's
yeah,
strategy.
but that's not one of the reforms that you've listed should be done.
Well, I mean, the laws are already in place for that. There is a law that says a speedy trial. It's my thing about if you find the prosecutor's acting for ill motives, he's prosecuted, and that's what's happening here. There's ill motive on the part of the government to act, and I could prove that. But there's no penalty for it now, so they could do it.
Okay. I can't. As soon as I turn off this camera, I'm going to think of something else. But how about you?
Just the other ironic thing. How much time?
10 minutes.
Oh well, the other I want to go into that Travel Act thing a little bit more because you mentioned the Travel Act. The jurisdiction for them is that I had to use commerce somehow, or a commodity in commerce, phone, travel, whatever. To commit a felony. They're saying I committed bribery under the statutes of New Jersey in Staten Island. The reason we were in Staten Island is because Solomon Dweck, on 3 occasions, set the meeting up, which is basically entrapment.
But Cheatham was involved in that. He says, let's get away from Jersey City.
Cheatham was involved in telling him early on the Casadante he didn't want to be in Jersey City. Now, there are I think 26 counties in Jersey City. He never said New York, and Dweck says to him, how about the city?
Right.
New York. And then Cheatham says, fine, pick a place. And then Dweck turns around and says, no, I'm fine, wherever you want to pick the venue. So Cheatham picked the venue, but the location, New York, 3 times, was solidified with Solomon Dweck.
Okay. The Travel Act does not apply if you go to Perkins in Staten Island, to have lunch with a guy who may want to contribute to your campaign.
That's right.
That doesn't apply,
no,
right?
But see, you got to realize.
You got to be doing something else wrong.
You got to realize that there's, they want to forget, when the government's before the judge, they want to forget that this had anything to do with an election. Okay? When it had everything to do about an election, and that's what all the evidence indicates. But in order to justify fitting the crime to what the statute talks about, that's why they're forgetting the election talk, because you know what? You have a whole bunch of election statutes.
Right.
That would fit.
That are state.
That not only, that are state, that would fit the alleged behavior you're charging. Okay? And I didn't commit any crimes under them either, but if you were going to charge me with something, it should have been the state charging me with an ELAC offense.
Yes. But also, and I'm not familiar with the Travel Act, but the travel itself has to be...
Yeah, it has to be consequential to the act. In other words, and here's where it isn't. Even if I accepted an illicit contribution from Dweck, which I did not, you could still charge that in New Jersey. It doesn't matter whether you're in New York, Connecticut, or anywhere in the country. It's still chargeable. If you read the legislative intent of the Travel Act, it was to prevent somebody from getting out of the jurisdiction of one state and committing the crime in another where that state couldn't prosecute them.
Okay.
So the legislative intent of the Travel Act is being violated in the prosecution as it's stated in my indictment.
Okay, but they certainly seem to have a real good PR machine.
That they do, and you know, they prey upon the lack of sophistication of today's media and savvy of today's, you know, there's no journalists no more, they're just reporters. You know, to hang with
they're not even reporters, they're repeaters.
You don't. You're right. You don't have. Yeah, exactly. They echo whatever they say, and they take advantage of that. If this was the day of Joe McCarthy, and there was ever a
Edward
R. Murrow, this guy would Christie, and this never would have got off the ground. He would have been stopped at his first political prosecution, much less this. He wouldn't have went past with Menendez. You know, with what he did to Menendez in the Senate race. Yeah,
there was something recently in the Star Ledger that they first agreed with Christie on the thing because Christie had these unquestioned ethics.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you should have asked some questions, you guys. What, you're reporters?
And it's ironic because they blasted his appointment.
Okay.
Based on ethics. So how they after all this just prosecuting Democrats, you know, who were essential to his run for governor, made him suddenly ethically pure? I don't know. It raises questions in my mind.
When are you expected back in court?
We're supposed to be back sometime in the second week of December. That's barring any other delays that might happen because of a new prosecutor.
And when I say back in court, this will actually be the first time in court if no part of this has been tried yet. No part of this is...
No. We only got to file the documents. You know, it hasn't been argued.
Okay. And this is October 26th, 2011.
Right.
From arrest, July 23rd, 2009. Yeah. Okay. And a complete... oh, by the way, public relations I mentioned. There's a guy's name is Druniak.
Yes. He was the... press spokesman for the U.S. Attorney's Office in Christie's office when Christie was there, and when this thing went on, and now he's the public relations guru for the governor.
And I think he's as nasty speaking as Christie is. You know, this...
Well, I've noticed an arrogant tone, if you will, in responding to a lot of stuff.
Yeah. Right. Let's don't talk about the substance. Let's just point the finger at the guy who's making the charges.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. All right, so we're out of time.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the opportunity.
Okay.